Welcome back everyone. Let's go ahead and do a quick, a full comparison for the most part between the OnePlus 9 and the iPhone 11. Now both these phones obviously are kind of different. The iPhone 11 came out in 2019, the OnePlus 9 just came out. But the iPhone 11 is such a popular phone and Apple still sells it for $599, which I think is actually a pretty good price tag. The OnePlus 9 a bit more expensive, but it's also a brand new phone and it is kind of a flagship as well. So if you want to pick up either one of these, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now side by side, you can definitely see that the OnePlus 9 is the far bigger phone. You're getting a much bigger panel here than you are on the iPhone 11 for sure. The iPhone 11 has that 6.1-inch IPS panel on it, and it's an IPS panel, definitely not an OLED or anything like that, but for the most part it looks good. Notch, a little bit of bezel around it, but not a big deal. The OnePlus 9, on the other hand, has that bigger 6.55-inch fluid AMOLED display too, whatever they call it. But the big thing to keep in mind with this panel is look how much better it looks. First of all, it does have a lot less bezel around it, doesn't have a notch, has that whole bunch display instead, but the biggest thing, it's high resolution and it has that 120 hertz. Those things in and of itself are huge components as to why I would recommend this phone. The display on it is so much better than the iPhone 11, but it is a lot more expensive. Not a lot more, but it is more expensive than the iPhone 11, so keep that in mind. It's not like both these phones are the same price. In terms of thinness and thickness between the two, almost dropped my iPhone 11. You can see that the iPhone 11 I think is a little bit thicker. At least it feels thicker. I don't know if it actually is, but it definitely feels like the thicker phone on the iPhone 11. And on the back, you can see glass backs on both. The iPhone 11 obviously and the OnePlus 9 both have wireless charging on the back, which is good. No frosted glass backs on either one of these. I love frosted glass backs. Unfortunately, OnePlus 9 removed it, but you do have that capability on the OnePlus 8 and the iPhone 11 Pros and onwards. Dual camera setups on both, except for the OnePlus 9 has that additional depth lens, which I don't really think anybody's going to use. USB Type-C on the OnePlus 9, lightning port on the iPhone 11, IP certification on both of them too. But other than that, that really pretty much covers up the outside. There's not a whole lot else to kind of talk about and hit on here. I will tell you though, one of the bigger differences still are the software. Obviously Android, iOS here. If I had to pick one, I like iOS more, but Oxygen OS, as I mentioned before, is my favorite version of Android. It is by far my favorite thing. I always love Oxygen OS more than stock Android. Of course, they kind of went a little bit of a different approach. If you kind of look here, if I go into settings, you can see that it doesn't really look quite like, stock Android. It looks more like One UI, but it's okay. I think it still looks very good. But I don't know, I always liked iOS. I like how it's so stock. Of course, if you want to jailbreak it, it makes it even better. But the OnePlus 9 definitely has more features when it comes down to the software. I will tell you though, one thing that's surprising about both phones are the battery lives. The iPhone 11 has like around a 3000 mAh battery. The OnePlus 9 has like a 4500 mAh battery. And I think both phones have tremendous battery life. I think the OnePlus 9 might be a little bit better right now, mostly because we have iOS 14 here and that kind of stuck out the little battery, if I'm being honest. But the OnePlus 9 has amazing battery life too. Even though this thing has a bigger display and 120 hertz and all of that, I think the OnePlus 9 has the overall better battery life for sure. But I think the iPhone 11's battery life is still really good. It can last you the whole entire day, I'm sure, no matter what you're going to do with it. I haven't charged this thing in a long time, and probably for like at least like 3, 4, 5 days, and the last time I used it, it was at like 60%. So the fact that that's 39%, I mean, that's a pretty good indication of how good this battery life is. But I think when it comes down to the software and battery life, I would say the iPhone 11 software is better, but the OnePlus 9 has better battery life. So that's kind of how to kind of sum it up there. Now let's go into a little bit of a speed comparison between both these phones. The OnePlus 9 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset with two different models, 12 gigs of RAM on the top tier model and 8 gigs of RAM on the bottom tier model. This one has 8 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 11, on the other hand, has that Apple A13 bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, let's get started. Let's get into phone calls. As you guys can see, all the apps are clear in the background except this one and that one. On iPhone 11 is cleared out. Let's do phone calls. 3, 2, 1. And iPhone 11, I think, was faster there. That was kind of strange. I wasn't expecting that. Cameras. 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 11, again, was the faster one. The OnePlus 9 just a little bit behind. Let's do their Play Stores and App Stores. 3, 2, 1. And OnePlus 9 definitely was faster there. iPhone 11 a bit behind, scrolling through the specific app. I think the iPhone 11 is a little bit slower here, but the OnePlus 9 was still extremely fast there too. Animation speed wise, you can kind of see the same thing going on, so there's not really a big difference there. As always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps we can get into. I have basically all of them on both phones. Let's do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And there could be a chance where they may be on different models, but I guess we'll just see what happens. and I guess they're not. And you can see the OnePlus 9 was, able to load into it. The iPhone 11 a little bit behind there. So right there was a pretty good little, that's the first time Fruit Ninja ever worked on both phones, to be honest. They usually mess up on both. Let's go ahead and do Facebook 3, 2, 1. And iPhone 11, I guess I'm logged in. I don't even know what account I'm using, but the OnePlus 9 was a little bit slower. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. I thought I clicked it there first, but I didn't. And the OnePlus 9 is just killing it, dude. It's so fast. The iPhone 11, for it being almost 2 years old, is actually not that far behind. You can see the OnePlus 9 is faster there. The iPhone 11 a little bit behind, but that was actually pretty quick on the iPhone 11. This actually may be faster than the iPhone 12, Gameplay-wise, they're going to be roughly around the same. The screen on the OnePlus 9, for some reason, doesn't look as good as the iPhone 11s, which is very weird. Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And OnePlus 9 definitely far faster. Actually, it was a little bit faster. I don't want to overhype it. The iPhone 11 was just slightly behind in this specific test. And it sounds like I'm like rooting for the iPhone 11. I'm just calling it as I see it. Let's do the next one, which is BOFA 3, 2, 1. And the OnePlus 9 was faster. iPhone 11 a little bit behind there. Dropbox 3, 2, 1. There we go. OnePlus 9 I think a little bit faster. Quizlet 3, 2, 1. And again, OnePlus 9 is faster there. Hopping out of this one, let's do Snapchat. No, let's not do that. Let's do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. And I think the OnePlus 9 was faster there. Let's go ahead and do Thank You. 3, 2, 1. And there we go. OnePlus 9 was a faster one. iPhone 11 a little bit behind. And dude, I can definitely tell you, I think the OnePlus 9 is probably the faster one every single time. But I don't even want to say that. There were a lot of instances where the OnePlus 9 was a little bit slower, I think at the beginning with some apps, the OnePlus 9 was the faster one. And sometimes the iPhone 11 was the faster one. Getting into some of these apps in the background, let's go and see which one is the faster one, or which ones keep the apps in the background. And so far, so good. They've all been able to keep their apps right there. Let's get into the Play stores and their app stores. Same thing going on there too. Let's get into the next one, which is all the way in the back. Let's go ahead and get into Fruit Ninja. And both restarted. The iPhone 11 was able to get, I guess, restarted faster than the iPhone 11, than the OnePlus 9. Let's go back into the beginning and see which one again. Facebook. They both do pretty good. I think the iPhone 11 is actually doing a really good job. The OnePlus 9, I think, is probably faster more times than not. But the iPhone 11 is like a very close second place. I think this one performed better than the iPhone 12. So I have to do like another comparison between those two. But in terms of this covers up the speed comparison. Let's go and hit on the cameras. As you guys can see, I guess the triple camera setup on the OnePlus 9 and the dual camera setup on the iPhone 11, both wide-angle lens and ultra-wide sensors. The telephoto, the OnePlus 9 doesn't have that depth lens, which I think is cool, I guess. Now, I think the iPhone 11 hands down had one of the better cameras of, 20 and 19, and even going into 2020. I mean, this camera was extremely good, and it's still really good. 4K at 60 on the back, 4K at 60 on the front, and the colors are great. You can see, I mean, this is horrible lighting, but I think overall this camera is a solid camera. It's definitely not perfect, but it gets the job done. And another big thing with a lot of apps, Snapchat, Instagram, the apps on the iOS side are more optimized for their cameras. You can have perfect camera on like any other phone, like a OnePlus 9 or something like that. But the software sometimes just isn't optimized, which really does suck. This camera, and notice this, look how fast it is to zoom in and out. I want you to notice that. Look how seamless, it's so smooth, right? Now let me show you something on the OnePlus 9. So first of all, I don't want to knock this camera right out the gate. I mean, it's a very good camera. You have 8K capability on the back. Still only 1080p on the front, which I think is very weird. And I think photos, videos, everything is going to be great. I think the autofocus is a little weird. And also look at this UI. Why is it so glitchy? You know what I mean? Like you can see from my DSLR right here how smooth it is. Why is it on this camera that it's so glitchy? I never understood that. I think the photos and everything are going to be fine. The ultra-wide sensor works perfectly fine as well. But here's the main thing to keep in mind. Look at how glitchy it is to zoom in and zoom out. So look at this. If I go ahead and zoom in and zoom out, like it's just not as smooth as the iPhone 11. You can see it was just so glitchy. You can see that, right? Let me go and try a little bit slower. Like, it's just so choppy. The iPhone 11 was so much faster and so much more intuitive. And that's the bigger problem. I think the camera on this lens is probably good. I think low light is not that amazing. But the UI just isn't my cup of tea, and I'm not a huge fan of it. So OnePlus needs to push out an update to fix this. Then it might be on par with something like an iPhone 11. So in terms of the camera, it's a quick little comparison right there. Now to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and buy a OnePlus 9 or should you buy an iPhone 11? To be honest, there are still some strong reasons to buy or keep your iPhone 11 over a OnePlus 9. Now, first of all, if you want a phone that's going to be, I guess, the more flagship phone, the OnePlus 9 is definitely the more flagship device when it comes down to it. First of all, this device, obviously it looks beautiful. You have that hole punch display. It looks really good. I mean, 120 hertz, that definitely adds a lot more character to this phone. It's a bigger phone with less bezel, which looks really, really good. I feel like it may be a little bit faster, but it's not really like a crazy amount. The battery life is a little bit better on the OnePlus 9 as well. And I think those are the main reasons to go and pick up this phone. This is more of a flagship. You're getting the fingerprint sensor in the display, no notch. Like, this is the flagship. But the iPhone 11, for being the budget phone from Apple for 2019, this is a crazy good phone still. I'm surprised how well it was able to keep up against the OnePlus 9, and I feel like I say that with a lot of iPhones, older iPhones compared to the Android side. But OnePlus, I mean, they spent a lot of time talking about this camera. I don't know what they were doing. Like, the back camera is good. The UI is kind of choppy. The front camera isn't all that great, to be honest. The iPhone 11, though, it's an all-around perfect package, in my opinion. There's nothing that this phone is like the best in, but there's also nothing that this phone, like, when you get this phone, you know what you're getting. You know you're not getting like the flagship phone. I'm really happy about the price tag of the OnePlus 9. I'm unhappy with the price tag of the 9 Pro, though. I feel like that's way too expensive. With this phone, though, I think it does the job. You know what I mean? Like, I think 2 years from now, I feel like the iPhone 11, again, is going to be the phone that's going to, hold up better than the OnePlus 9, in my opinion. You look at phones like the OnePlus 7, those phones handle pretty well. But you look at phones like the iPhone XR, I think that phone may be doing a little bit better than the OnePlus 7 at that time. So when it comes down to these two, I think I would rather have an iPhone 11. You're getting, arguably smoother performance from what I was seeing. I like the battery life. I love the software, and I don't think this phone is like necessarily better than the OnePlus 9. But the fact that it's like almost 2 years old and it's cheaper than the OnePlus 9 makes this, I think, a better value per dollar. But the OnePlus 9 is a great phone, and I think it's it's a more of a flagship phone, like I stated. But I don't think I would go from an iPhone 11 to a OnePlus 9. I feel like it's very close, and I feel like when it comes down to it, the iPhone 11 is probably a better phone in some areas. But the OnePlus 9, when I think of a flagship, I think of this phone and not necessarily this one. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.